Good afternoon, everyone. I'm State Representative Mike Weiner, and this is Open Mic. Wanted to talk a little bit about farming today. Farming in the state of Minnesota. When I was a kid, my dad owned a business, and he used to do work on corn dryers. And at one site visit, late at night, I had made the comment that I said, I just don't like the loud noises of a corn dryer. Said it always bothered me. And he said, that's a good noise. I said, what do you mean that's a good noise? He said, if the corn dryers are running, that means there's corn in the bins. That means there's a harvest. And if the farmers are doing good, everyone's doing good. Words of wisdom from my father. Stuck with me all these years. I was probably only 10, 12 years old at the time. But it's something that we really should consider in this state when we're so closely tied with agriculture. So I wanted to share just a few thoughts because it's been in the news about how farmers are struggling. And it's getting harder and harder to make a living off the land. And it's not just because of markets or weather, but a big problem, part of the problem is right here at home, and it's the way that Minnesota tax systems and regulations treat agriculture. So let's start with taxes. Minnesota's property tax structure might look fair to some, but the reality is different on the farm. As land value rises, our property taxes rise right along with them, and even if our incomes don't. So for middle to mid-sized farm, this means writing one of the biggest checks of the year to the county treasurer, right when cash flow is tight. The state has a few credits, the agricultural credit, homestead credit, beginning farmers credit, but they're small, capped, and don't come close to offsetting what's being taken. Then there's income tax. Minnesota has one of the highest state income taxes in the country. And when farmers finally have a good year, the state takes a big share of that. And because farm income swings so much from year to year, when taxes hit, when the cash is there, even though next year might be a drought or a bad market, what happens? The result is good farmers are paying high taxes in one year and fighting to stay afloat the next. But it's not just the taxes either. Regulations are piling up. Minnesota's buffer law took thousands of acres out of production, and farmers were told to plant grass strips, stay 50 feet back from public waterways. And we all care about clean water. Nobody depends upon it more than farmers. And those acres are still being taxed, maintained, and taken out of production. And when you add the cost of seed, mowing, compliance, these free buffers are anything but. Then there's the wetland and ditch rules. They make it difficult, sometimes impossible, to improve drainage or reclaim land that's been productive. For livestock producers, the feedlot permitting process can take months or years with layers of manure management, setbacks, and monitoring costs. Those rules might make sense to a city officer, but on the ground they mean more paperwork, more expense, and less time farming. Meanwhile, input costs. And this is what's really affecting farmers so much recently. Fertilizer, seed, diesel have skyrocketed. Global demand isn't growing fast enough to make up for it. University of Minnesota has a report showing that net farm income has fallen to some of the lowest levels of this century. So when prices drop and expenses rise, property taxes and regulations don't take a break. They just keep coming year after year. So for the small family farms that built this state, it's nearly impossible to compete. Big operations can spread those costs over thousands of acres or hundreds of animals, but the family farm can't. Every new rule, every new tax shift pushes more families out of business and consolidates the industry into fewer and fewer hands. But it doesn't have to be that way. We can keep our land and water clean without bankrupting the people who care for them. We can start by reforming the property tax system and increasing the agricultural homestead credits and indexing it to inflation so that relief grows as values do. We can scale regulation in the state. Small farms don't face the same fees and reporting as the large corporate farms do. When the state imposes environmental rules that take land out of production, it ought to share the cost and not dump it all on the farmers. And finally, we can strengthen programs that help new and beginning farmers getting started. The average farmer in our state is right around 60 years old. So we can have low interest loans, succession credits, incentives that make it easier to pass the family farm to the next generation instead of selling it to a corporation or developer. Minnesota farmers are the backbone of this state. They feed our people, fuel our economy, and preserve our rural way of life. But that backbone is bending under the weight of taxes and regulations that's gone too far. So if we want Minnesota agriculture to survive, not just another season, but for another century, we need to give farmers a fair chance to make their living off the land. This means practical policies, balanced regulation, and a tax system that values the people that grow our food, not just the land beneath their feet. So I just wanted to share those thoughts with you today. God bless our farmers. We're in the middle of harvest right now, and the weather has been cooperating for the most part. Stay safe out there. And once again, our best days are not behind us. They're in front of us. It's up to us to make that happen. Thank you and God bless.